Good morning, everyone. It's James calling. Today is a kind of windy, gloomy, early winter morning. So I'm going to talk something gloomy today. The topic in general is called Why I Love, or put mildly, I like American people, but I hate American government. It sounds like kind of reverse engineering of the American that's a propagandist always says, we love Chinese people, we hate Chinese Communist Party. In the future, I'll make one video to give you the differentiation between the Chinese Communist Party and American government or American deep state. I will tell you what's the difference. And we all know that American government by no means is a product of so-called democracy. In my humble opinion, it is like this. One day, democracy. 4 years, dictatorship. That's the real essence of American political system. Because this American government is a puppet of the deep state. And everybody talking about deep state. But who are the real deep state? Actually, the real deep state has 2 layers of structure. On the surface, it is the administrative functioning departments of different levels of American governments are the everyday deep states, like CIA, like FBI, like legislations, like a Senate, House of Representatives, like education departments, all this. Those who are doing the everyday job for the American government constitutes the deep state. That's on the surface. That's just on the surface. Just below the surface of this water, underneath of the iceberg, is the real deep state. Who are they? They are the rich, small group of people. Very rich, small group of people. And some of them's billionaires, multi-billionaires. The others, they are multi-millionaires. But this group of rich people, they have made up the pyramid of the deep state. Even though their wealth level different from each other. Some super rich, some just, richer than average. But their lifestyle, their goals in life, the way of thinking, the school of training, are the same. They are aiming for the world dominance. In order to achieve this world dominance, they have to achieve a nationwide dominance. They have to control the country before they can control the world. So how to do it? So they have this perfect design of one person, one vote, winner takes all kind of so-called American-style democratic system. To successfully manage this system, they are the most capable propagandists in the world, because they not only mature their theory, they also mature the school of training. They also established the whole system under their control, like international medias, national medias, and local level medias. They control the mouthpiece of the nation. But not only that, as I mentioned, they also mature the school of training. They set up the university. Not only that, they're also controlling the establishment of certain courses in the university, in the colleges. They teach you identity politics. They teach you their kind of manipulated, doctored American history and world history in order to mold your school of thought to their satisfactory. Economists, novelists, and humanitarian, all these supposed to offering their social services to the public, are trained in the universities, in the colleges, in the programs that created and controlled by the people who are controlling the deep state of the United States. So naturally, they either willingly or either unknowingly, these people are doing the bidding of the American deep state. Some of them, I can, I can recognize them as part of the American ordinary folks, American people, which I liked. I have quite a few American friends. That's since 20, 30 years back. In my opinion, as a personal connection with them, and I feel they are good people, ordinary folks. And actually, between the American people and the Chinese people, I mean the ordinary people, we have more things in common than not. Because geographically speaking, the size of United States and the size of China are more or less the same. It's all about, close to 10 million square meters on the land, on the sea, everything else included. So people living in such a large territory, they carried traits of the special kind. If you, for instance, even though you cannot distinguish from the appearance of a Chinese and a Japanese, you put them together. As a Westerners, you're really hard. You're struggling to say which one is Japanese, which one is Chinese. But once they start talk to you, interact with you, from the words they use, from their body language, you will see the difference. Even though you still feel hard to make a judgment to say this is Chinese, this is Japanese, but you will see the difference. Because people living in an island and people living in an open, huge swath of territory are really molded by their geographic environment. So in this case, Americans and Chinese are behaving quite a kind of relaxed way, just like I'm talking like this, but you will never see, or you seldom see, or probably you will never see any Japanese, would be so relaxing and talking about very serious politic issues. And also, the distance between the people. And the Chinese cares very little about this issue because we can be very close to each other. We can be also keeping the distance away from each other. But it all depends on your personal kind of understanding of your relationship with the other people and within the society. But in a small island like UK, like in Japan, because they are living in such a crowded area, so they really feel they need a space for privacy. They really need to maintain their personal relationship very carefully. So hypocrisy would constantly shows up in the eyes of our Chinese ordinary folks about the islanders. For instance, the Japanese, they always show up very polite, no matter they hate you or they love you. And equivalent of Asian Japanese is the Anglo-Saxon people living on the British Isles. They behave more or less the same way. It's just in a Western kind of style, but in essence, it's the same. They're shaking hands with you. They even open the doors for the ladies, even talking to you in a nice, in a good words, in an educated manner. I can hardly detect, if you are not careful enough, whether this guy talking to you like you or dislike you. As islanders. But for the ordinary American folks, for the ordinary Chinese, even though Chinese is more conservative, we more keep to ourselves, but if necessary, if push come to shove, we will tell you in your face, we don't like you. But of course, from this point of view, Americans are even more open-minded. That's also understandable because Americans coming from the other continents, most of them, and when they come together, and the clash between different, different nationalities, even though they are all called Americans, but they come from originally from different countries, and they have to speak openly about their minds in order to deal with each other. Otherwise, a huge confusion will be caused by the same hypocrisy that islanders would show you. So, just from this point of view, I think we have a basis to like each other between Americans and Chinese ordinary people. But I can't say the same about American government and the elite deep state behind them. Why? Because the foundation, the political foundation, the historic foundation that were laid down for today's United States were not by the ordinary people, but by Anglo-Saxon people. Not by all of them, but by a small part of that Anglo-Saxon nation. They are they were the richest group of feudalists, the richest group of industrialists, slave owners, preachers, and all the other that's elite from different fields. Those were the people who signed on the paper of independence for the United States, who led a war against the British Empire at that time. These were the people, most of them, if not all, carrying the Anglo-Saxon nation traits. Just like the Red Indians, that's how Americans call them. We call them American Indians. They said the white people, but at that time, specifically pointing the finger to the Anglo-Saxon people. Those folks speaks with forked tongue. That's the vivid description of hypocrisy, double standard, you know? So this kind of people, they carry with them the ability to trick people, to talk shit about the other people, but at the same time, keep a very good manner. They are the propagandists of the highest level in this world. So they can make up the lies of the century. Xinjiang genocide, mamma mia. How many of them? Those people that voted in the parliaments to agree with the clause that Xinjiang genocide happened in China have ever been to Xinjiang? Oh, have ever been to China? For that, never been to. But why they do that? Because once they are satisfied with the dominant position in their own countries, country or countries, because there are some other countries in this matter as well, then they feel the urge to dominate a world or to keep their dominance in the world. All of a sudden, almost overnight, as they are sleeping, China is rising up, or not rising up, coming back. Because we used to be number one in the world, even though we didn't feel it. Even though we never claimed to be. But we're coming back. And the deep state back in the United States government feel the urge to stamp China down. So even They have to make up story, even by any, hook and crook, whatever means they can use to destabilize China, to isolate China, to do everything they can. They will try it. And that, I can't say it is a typical characteristics of the ordinary American people. That's one of the major reasons that I say I like American people, but I hate American government and the deep state behind it. In order to distinguish American deep state and American ordinary people, we can distinguish them both by the level of wealth, the difference between the level of wealth and also the way they accumulated their wealth, and also their own understanding of the wealth they have collected, which means how they use their wealth and for what purpose. Ordinary American people and deep state people and people controlled by deep state, they are really two different type of animals. Why using animals? Because I believe in Darwin's evolution. We're all coming from animals. That's what I believe. Doesn't matter if you agree with me or disagree with me. The deep state people, unfortunately, they have evolved into a much cunning kind of animals today. And also they enlarge their friend circle. Used to be 90%, even 99% of Anglo-Saxon people, but now, because of the evolution, the passing on of times, some other, the same type of people from the other country joined this Anglo-Saxon people in the United States, become the same elite members of the American society. And some of them involved Jewish, few rich Jewish people, even though there are over 6 million Jewish in the United States, but the elite, that's a group of Jewish people, are really numbered. Very few of them. Most of the Jewish people in the United States, even though on average they're still much well-being than average, but they're still part of the American ordinary people. But why I especially mention the Jewish Americans or the American Jewish? Because they carry a very heavy weight in the American political atmosphere. And in the last election or last few elections, from the information I collected, that's open source information, the top 26 biggest donors, political donors to the president-elects were actually Jewish. Oh no, 15 of them out of that 26 actually Jewish. In the top 3, 2 of them were Jewish. And people probably will ask why. Let me tell you why. The Jewish people are actually amongst the most persecuted in the history, in the human history. They got some good reasons why they are most persecuted. First of all is their belief. They believe they are the chosen ones. Judaism is very secluded kind of religious kind of traits. They seldom to marry outside their religion. That's greatly hindered the expansion of their population. And also, because they believe they are chosen ones, they are the chosen ones. So they put themselves up against all the other religions. So that's one of the reasons why Jewish have such a, you know, lifelong, historically, kind of conflicts, religious struggle, territory, ter territorial kind of struggle against its neighboring countries, neighboring nations, or even on a higher international stage. Another thing is, there's a Chinese saying, if one tree is growing high above the others, the wind always destroy the tallest tree. The Jewish are very clever with their commerce, so they tend to be richer than average, or richest will be rich than the other rich people in the world. That's also, it's not coming by nature, but by history. I'm not digging into it, but I know what's the historical elements that's involved to make the Jewish people so successful in the commerce. But anyway, so the Jewish people, they have a long memory about their history, that they suffered such a lot of persecution from almost coming from every direction. So in order to survive, they know they cannot only rely on themselves, they have to rely on the strongest allies. Today, that is United States. So they help shape the American political system. Through the easiest way is to join the elite, the American deep state, to become part of it. 10% of the House of Representatives, including the Senate, the House of Senate, 10% were coming from Jewish people in the United States. That's proportionally extremely large, proportionally, to less than 3% of the total population that Jewish in the United States. So I cannot take them as part of the ordinary American people. In personal contact, the American people that I know, are associated with, most of them with a different bloodline other than Anglo-Saxon people. Some of them, they got a quarter of German blood, even more. Some of them got French blood, Italiano blood, Spanish, and Russian, Romanian. They got different kind of, ancestors. But Anglo-Saxon people, in general. Now I'm talking in general now. They are very kind of preserved in kind of way when they're dealing with you, when they come into making friends with the other people. They're pretty much kind of reserved. It's not easy to make friends with them because they need social space. They are not that trusting because they're islanders originally. So the American deep state constitutes majority of them heavily on the bloodline of Anglo-Saxon people, and then joined with some other elite group of people from the other countries or from the other continents. So I cannot treat them as ordinary American people. That's why I'm telling you. I can see the time, so I'm cutting short. The conclusion is, of course, there are many other elements I will make in the future videos to further establish my arguments about why I like ordinary American people, but I hate American government and the deep state behind them. Today, just the starter. The main dishes I will fork out in the future. Thank you guys. I'll see you next video.